why did you choose disagree for number 2? We all share the same reality and only interpret it differently.
So I came at it from like more of like a psychological perspective. There are several people that unfortunately have serious psychological problems, and their reality is different than ours. Their brain operates differently than ours. Even though we want to pretend that it's the same reality for them, it's not the same reality.
Doesn't that mean that they interpret it differently? Isn't that agreeing with the statement?
I don't know. Like it depends on how you define reality. You know what I mean? Like it really depends on how you describe reality. I don't think.
Let's put it a different way then. If we say reality as someone's subjective interpretation of the world, would we say that's different from what one might call objective reality? Like those are two different things that we sometimes use the same word
simulation?
Sure.
What if we're in the simulation? Like what if this is the Matrix?
I think we all get that concept that we share a reality, experiencing and living in where we're sharing, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I have the feeling that we have like kind of two uses of the word reality there, right? One is that space that we all share, and the other one is kind of your interpretation of the world that you can't escape. Like you can't help but perceive the world any way other than you perceive it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why some people are, stuck in really terrible places, truthfully. Would you agree that there are these two uses of the word reality?
Yeah, I would say that because I think if you use like perception, I know everyone has different perceptions of whatever. So like I think it's the word.
So just start answering.
The way that we will go through this is just answer all the questions. I'm going to do the same thing, and then we'll reveal everyone's answers, and then we'll talk about them.
Okay.
Oh my God, there's also a little eclipse at the top, and if you click it, it puts it in the dark mode.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm a dark mode fan myself.
Question. Is it strongly agree, no opinion, disagree, strongly disagree?
Think of it as from left to right. Strongly agree, no opinion, somewhat disagree, strongly disagree.
Fair enough. Yeah. I'm done.
I'm finished. Do we click reveal everyone's answers?
Let's wait till everyone's done. But yeah, we'll do that. I didn't even know if you had that button. Cool.
I'm not even halfway.
Yeah, I don't think I'm very much done.
That's okay. Take your time, guys. Don't worry.
I'm looking over the answers again a little bit.
Yeah, it's worth doing.
I told you, man. These are like crazy existential questions.
Yeah, like I said, they're probably questions you haven't thought explicitly about.
Oh God, I'm literally only I'm one question away from this, and I'm just staring at it like I don't fucking know.
Just go. I don't know. You can do the middle question if you're not sure.
But that is true. But I also am not comfortable with saying I don't know.
Fair enough.
Is that the question you're stuck
that
on?
You answer.
No. That would be pretty fucking hilarious, though.
Yeah.
I wonder who I'm gonna get the closest to.
Are we all done?
I think we're waiting on Zion and Cody still.
I'm still pretty far back. I'm only at the 13th question.
Okay. That's most of the way through.
Oh shit, thanks for saying something, because I scrolled down to see where that was, and I was like, oh, I missed one. Oh my God, what is the reveal my name to the room kick?
Oh, if you don't, we should all tick that. But if you don't tick it, it won't tell just my name, the checkbox.
Yeah.
If you don't tick it, it'll just say someone answered in this manner. It won't say who.
Okay.
But really, I think we all want to know who, and I think we're all okay with that, right? So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because none of these will make me think that any of you are weirdos.
Well, you haven't seen my answers yet.
I am a weirdo, though. So you should think I'm a weirdo.
So where Where did you get this survey from?
Yeah, I guess now that we've seen it, I got it from this website, basically. If you're interested, I'll share some more with you about it later, but this street epistemology thing is, in a way, it's a way to have a conversation with people and to talk about the way that people form their beliefs. And this survey is kind of like an aside thing to that. It's more it focuses more on the conversations, and I came across a bunch of these conversations on YouTube, and some of them I thought were fucking fascinating. I'll share one with you guys after that you might find interesting, and then I kind of fell down that rabbit hole, and eventually I looked it up and found some more information, and I found this guy that was using this survey with strangers, and it was really enlightening just about how different people think and stuff like that. And I figured, I could do this with, you guys. So here I am.
Are we clicking the reveal name to the room and then?
Yeah. No, reveal name to the room first, and then reveal. Right?
Are you done?
Is
Cody?
everybody done?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So yeah, we can do the reveal everyone's answers.
Ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. We got a lot of variation, a lot of undecided in the middle, way more than I thought. Mostly Xeon and Cody.
Questions are like way out there that it's like they could go either way.
I don't like putting strongly agree for anything. Just so you guys know, or strongly disagree for anything. Just so you guys know.
Somewhat same here.
Yeah.
It would have to be like so extreme of a statement that they're saying, and the problem with me is they're already asking you what is the truth on top. Let's say the first statement, and then there's these statements, but they're asking you this top question, not necessarily these other questions.
One of the ones that I had problem.
Like, what is the truth is the question. These are statements that follow that first question.
No, those are just categories that those statements would correspond to. So all those statements in like the first section, all regard they're statements that help answer the question of what is truth.
You guys actually got a lot the same, you and Justin.
One of the ones that I didn't fully know the answer to is that we should be satisfied with a test that can only confirm our claim, right? I'm really split on that one, right? Because if it can only confirm our claim, then it should satisfy our claim, right? But if it can't satisfy anyone else's claim, does that make it invalid? So I was really
what do you mean by satisfy anyone else's claim?
Well, why did you say strongly disagree on?
I'll tell you, but I want to understand what you meant by that.
So if this test can't confirm anything else but what I say, isn't that a valid test? I'm not 100% sure, because shouldn't it also be able to confirm other things that other people say?
Right. So I think I understand the way that this question is meant to be understood and the way that you understood it, which isn't really a problem. That's part of the fun of this exercise. The important word there is not our claim. The important word there is only confirm. So say that you say, for example, God is real, right? And then you come up with a test that's meant to determine whether or not God is real. And it tells you, like, hey, if this were true, I would expect there to be God. For example, like, say your test for that claim is things exist, right? Well, that test can only show you that it's true, but never wrong. So if you were to hold a position based on that test and you were wrong, you could never be swayed away from it, because the test can only show you one thing, only that something is true. So if you use that test and about something that is wrong, and it gives you an indication that it might be right, but it can't show you that it's wrong, then how would you ever really know that it's true? Did that make sense? I mean, I spoke a lot and I used a lot of words.
I think that I would be swayed more to the disagree side now, thinking about it that way.
Yeah, because I mean, especially I definitely one of the few that I strongly disagreed on. Because no, I mean, if it could only confirm my claim, I mean, of course, yeah, I'd be satisfied. But if it only confirmed my claim, what I believe, then would I really be happy with it?
Yeah.
Would it, if 9 out of 10 tests tell me yes, and then the 10th test tells me no, of course, I would then still look at all 10 and be like, well, obviously something's got to be up. If this one alone says hell no, then what's up? Is there some kind of flaw in the system?
Yeah. But here we're talking specifically about a test that can't even say no. It can never say no. It would be like looking at a book, and it's only possible to come to one answer based on the way you're looking at it, regardless of the contents of the book or the truth of what it is you're trying to figure out. So just because we're on this one, Maria, you chose in the middle, and I'm just curious about why.
Yeah, the biggest difference that I have with anybody is with you, Justin, on number 11. Believing something that is false feels just like believing something that is true.
Mm-hmm. So why did you choose that?
I almost said strongly disagree, actually.
And why is that?
Well, it's again, it might be like misinterpretation of the fucking question. But
it's only somewhat possible to misinterpret the questions. For the most part, your interpretation of the question is a part of this exercise. So you're not necessarily going to be wrong.
So feelings are interpreted by people different, right? So it may be for you that believing that God exists, even though you know he doesn't exist, and believing in gravity, those things might feel the same to you, but they definitely don't to me. I can't believe something that is false and live with myself in the same way. I can't integrate it into my life. That's why I also think let me state this a little bit. If somebody could change my mind, then I will change my mind on the subject,
Yeah, so let me read this question to you a little bit differently from the way it's written and see if that affects your answer, because I think it will. So believing something believing something that is false feels just like believing something that is true, regardless of your understanding of it. So I think the way that you read this is knowingly believing something that is false, when I think that that's not meant to be a part of the question. So if you believe something is false and you don't know it, isn't it just the same for you as believing something that is true?
Yeah, that's how I read it.
That's how I read it.
Does that change your thought on it? And was that clear?
Yeah, I would say so. I guess so. But you wouldn't know it's false, right? So
no, you wouldn't know.
I guess
if you don't know it's false, basically, if you are mistaken about something, it feels just like when you believe something is true.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and because everything else that you said also makes sense. If you say knowingly false, if I choose to delude myself, I think is the way that you understood that, right?
Yeah. People do with religion, I feel.
Sometimes, not always, and that we might get into that here. And you two in the middle, Zion and Cody.
Yes.
Why not agree or slightly agree?
Well, because I believe that is somewhat of a true statement, but someone could tell you otherwise, and then it wouldn't be true anymore. You might believe.
You mean statement 11 itself?
Yeah. like you can get educated, and then this false is now true. I mean, it's not true anymore.
At the time that you believe something and it is false, are you saying that it would feel different from when it's true before you learn something new?
No, I'm saying like someone can believe this false statement that it's truth, but then like learn, and then that truth that they felt is now false again, or it always was false.
Yeah, but did it change the way that did you feel differently at the time that you believed it to be false? Did it feel any different from any other truthing?
No, I would say not necessarily.
Right. But afterwards, you can feel different about it if you come to learn it's not true, if I'm understanding you.
Yes. Like this truth can change, even though that you believe it as true.
Okay, cool. Zion, you want to share anything there? If not, we could just move on. About why you chose the answer you did for number 11.
No, I understand.
Okay.
No, I'm in the same boat as Justin, where, I mean, like, if I knowingly know it's false, well, I guess I should say some of these questions could be worded a little better to make them more clearly defined. But
Yeah.
if I knowingly believe in something that is false, I mean, of course, it kind of just
Feels different.
it can go one way or the other. Like,
Right, yeah.
sure, I could be like, yo, pancakes are better than waffles, and like that is a false statement because waffles fucking rock, and then there's always French toast, which is like the king of breakfast foods. But like, in my shitty example, like, I mean, I could believe it's true, and maybe that's just a personal choice where I'm just like, you know, even if I don't knowingly know off the bat, like this, like here is fact and statement. Like if I don't know those two definitives, like, I mean, it could be something that I see and I'm like, I'm going to put my trust in this, but it feels wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have anything better to go on. So it might not be like the truth itself.
Yeah.
And then like, yeah, exactly. Like you're saying to Cody though, as well. Like, of course, later down the line, I could come to find out the truth and then just be like, all right, cool. Well, I was wrong all along. And I kind of felt that way. And that's fine. Or maybe even then that would come along and I'd be like, well, shit, I've been believing in this falsehood for so long that now this is like my truth, because
like maybe you believe something not to such an to less of an extent, and then you can recognize that as maybe it's false, but you do believe it. Is that partly what you're saying?
But like,
kinda, yeah. No, I think we're in the same ballpark. But the more I keep saying believing in the words believing, false, and true back and forth, my brain is just like, I don't believe myself.
it's like the breakfast thing that he's talking about. Like, you might have a truth that you love pancakes, then you become like realize that the waffles are way better. But that truth was first that you believed, but it turned out to be false, right? That now the waffles are better than the pancakes ever could be.
So do those two things feel differently?
Yeah,
No.
that's the core of the question.
No, motherfucker, waffles are always better.
No,
Yeah.
but if you never had a waffle, you wouldn't think that pancakes are better.
No,
But
you're right. You're right, Cody. That your perception of that will change, but you probably felt the same about the pancakes before when it was false. When you liked the waffles more, you just didn't know it yet, and that's part of the question, right?
Yes, exactly.
And then
That's
you
why-
discover
that's why-
crepes and you're just
why I'm
dumpster
neutral.
everything you've ever known.
That's why I'm neutral, because it can change. Like this question can change on itself.
Well, I think your understanding of a thing can change through time, but I don't think that the feeling will change. Anyways, we don't want to get stuck on this one too long. I want to go to the very bottom of this.
We all chose the same thing on 16.
I give all claims the benefit of the doubt when I first encounter them. Yeah, no. Why didn't you choose strongly agree? Let's say Rossman.
Well, it's there are some claims that are so outlandish and like unbelievable that you can't help as a person to not give them the benefit of the doubt and just jump to a conclusion right away. What you believe about the universe and the people and stuff like that, right? Somebody does something outrageous and dies. You say, no, that's not possible. They're not dead. I'm not going to believe that the first time that you encounter it, because that's just how we react.
Right.
So there is a little bit of wiggle room because we're just fucking humans.
Right. Okay. I'm going to go down to 19. And that's basically exactly how it is for me, Rossman, by the way. So 19, Rossman, you said you often investigate beliefs which do not match my own, which I find commendable because I think I should more, but I do not. Everyone else.
Something says I'm wrong. I have to look into it.
Well, no, this doesn't imply that something says you're wrong. This just is like, I think this is a good idea. And it's like, are you actively looking for reasons why you're wrong? Is what it's asking.
Yeah. I whenever something is presented to me that goes against my worldview, I have to look into it. 100%.
Right. That's why I chose the one that I did, the only somewhat agree, because if I am presented with something that makes me question, I look, but I'm not actively looking for things that I believe to prove them wrong, at least not some things. And Xeon, you don't give a fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, most times. Long hair don't care. Like, if it's something I'm interested in, sure, but otherwise, like, a lot of people's crazy beliefs, I don't give a flying shit about. Like, I'm not going to preach whatever I believe on you, and if you start doing it to me, then I most likely am just going to become more disinterested than me going and investigating it on my own. But sometimes it's too much energy to even fucking do that.
Yeah. Is part of the reason for this that you think everything you believe is true?
No, just sometimes I am better off just not caring about some things, because that is just too much emotional and mental investment.
Yeah, no, like just practically, it's a lot of work, literally.
Yeah, it's especially in coming to deal with people. Sometimes it's just long hair don't care. Like, I'm still gonna like you more for your personality than I am your beliefs. Unless we'll say, like, I believe most of this for me. The questions when it says beliefs rely on like religious and moral values. Like,
it's definitely not meant to be limited to that, but that's a common interpretation.
Yeah, but it's just sometimes I'm better off. The situation itself is better off without me meddling more in it.
The situation of your own understanding? Or you mean other people's understanding? Like, fuck that.
My understanding and my perception. Cool. Whether it be on the subject of what I'm perceiving, or the subject of what I'm perceiving, or God, wow, my fucking brain.
I understand what you're getting at, to be honest.
I think so too.
I have a little bit of a problem with the wording of this question.
Sure.
Like, am I like going out of my way to figure out every opposing view, or when I'm presented with a belief that does not match my own, I investigate, right?
Yeah.
I would say instead, I always investigate beliefs that do not match my own, because without them coming to my attention, I wouldn't know they even exist. So I can't even start investigating them. But when they do come to my attention, I always investigate.
You chose
Okay.
the right answer.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, if that's how you operate, then yeah, I think that's the right answer.
Like, what about question 5 on the section? Like,
All right, those are the fucking hard ones. We'll get to those soon. That's basically the core of this thing. Okay, one last one before we get down there.
Up there.
Yeah, I suppose that might be the better way to put that. So first of all, Zion, you're a madman for putting "I don't know" in section 20.
And for I don't know, no, because that is very well.
I don't know.
Sometimes it's shit that I should know or at least have an idea about, and I don't like saying I don't know. Or there's situations where, I mean, sometimes somebody will like want an answer, or I need an answer for something, and it is easier to bullshit my way through it than it is to say I don't know.
You mean socially, right? Or do you mean even just to yourself?
No, yeah, both.
Both, yeah, okay. So if you look at number 14, it says, without an explanation for something, any answer is better than no answer. You mostly disagree with that.
Yeah.
Doesn't that go against your willingness to make shit up?
No, because sometimes things are just best left unanswered.
Right. Okay.
I mean, understandable why you're asking, but yeah, just sometimes there's some shit that if there's really no answer for it, or if it once again takes effort for me to seek out an answer, maybe in the end the answer won't be what satisfies me, and I will just be happier still not having an answer. So if I don't have an answer, then it's not something to cement mentally, to cement in my beliefs or any kind of like personality. You know, it's just better off to just leave it dead in the water. And if it's important enough to me, then an answer is totally worth it. But otherwise,
an answer, even if it might be the wrong answer, just any answer. Yeah. Okay. All right. And then number 23, a bunch of people in the middle and on the right of this one. I'm curious about that. That's interesting to me.
What number is that? Sorry, which one?
Number 23. The more unusual a statement, the stronger the evidence needs to be. And Maria, you specifically disagreed with that the most.
Yeah, Maria, I would like to hear.
You would like to hear?
I would like to hear from you about question 23, please.
Yeah.
You got to go in there and shine a spotlight on her.
I don't know. Maybe it's just a wording of the question. I just thought
yeah.
the more
maybe you can start by telling us what you understand the question to mean. Like maybe just put it in your own words.
Like, I mean, the more unusual the statement, the stronger the evidence needs to be. Like, I think the amount of evidence should just be consistent. Like, it doesn't need to be stronger. It just needs to be, you just need evidence. I don't need stronger evidence. I just need evidence regardless of what statement.
Let me walk you through something then about that's related to this.
Okay.
If I tell you I own a pair of pants, are you willing to believe that just based on that alone?
Yeah.
There's a lot of evidence to support
because I've seen you wear pants.
Sure.
There's
No,
evidence to support that.
We're gonna work up from here. If I tell you that I own a car, are you willing to believe that on its own?
I've seen your car, so yeah, and you've talked about it, so yeah.
Sure. pretend I'm a stranger for these. It'll be a little bit easier. Because yeah, obviously our prior knowledge of each other throws out some of these examples. If a stranger tells you that they own a car, are you willing to believe them based on that statement alone?
No, not really.
No,
No?
I'd be like, oh, cool.
What
where's your
about a
car?
stranger wearing shorts tells you they own a pair of pants?
What about so separately from the car question? What
Right.
about a stranger wearing shorts tells you that they own pants?
Correct. Are you willing
Nothing.
to believe it based on that alone?
No,
No.
no. There's no evidence still,
Yeah.
right? That's how
Well, I mean, if that's how
I don't trust.
if
I don't
that's
trust
truly how you would
anybody.
behave, then
I don't trust anybody. So how about that? Does that make it easier? I don't trust shit.
I mean, I would tell them I believe them to their face, but I would
But in
hold
reality,
out
I'd be
until I
like,
actually
yeah.
saw some pants.
Exactly. I agree with that.
What if randomly in the next time you guys get to see Justin, you're having a conversation, he tells you about how he is a like prolific buyer and wearer of women's underwear? Would you need evidence for that, or would you like flat believe him?
No, I would still need evidence.
I
for that.
would,
Okay.
I would disbelieve him because that doesn't go again with the picture of Justin that I have in my mind.
Well, I'm saying that obviously you would need stronger evidence because you'd be like, I know you, and that is a very weird thing for you to say. So, like, all right, you gotta
I'd
send
be
me,
like,
you gotta
oh,
send me a picture
cool,
of that
Justin,
drawer, homie.
Can I see?
Yeah. Yeah. You got some on right now, homie?
Yeah, let's see.
I
Okay.
think that when we
wait. Let me. I think I can progress this a little bit. So say I drive up to your place from when I was living in Montreal, and I tell you like, hey, this car here, I own it. Would you believe me?
yes,
Maria?
No, show me the ownership.
she's just being difficult about it, though.
It helps if you're honest here, and maybe
Yeah.
you are, and you just really don't believe anything anybody ever says, which I'm amazed at how you can manage to live your life that way. But
I'd be like, no, I would be nice
Usual.
here. I'd be like, oh, that's cool. And then in my head, I'd be like, where's the ownership?
have you
No,
ever
you
seriously
know.
thought that?
I don't trust anybody. I told you.
Wow.
Okay, no,
I-
that's interesting to me. Like, this is a thing I didn't know about you, like, for real.
So I actually have trust issues, right? So I will want to trust somebody because that has gotten me into trouble in my life, putting too much trust into people that I probably shouldn't. And also the opposite, like I have been burned a lot by people I have trusted. So I am kind of afraid to trust people. So I'm kind of like right in the middle. Like I want to trust them, but I really shouldn't trust people.
So when you decide whether or not you're going to trust somebody, part of your evaluation there doesn't rely on the actual content of what they're saying.
No, my natural instinct, just like biologically speaking, is to trust people, which is a horrible instinct and it's gotten me into lots of issues, right? So I've actually had to be mindful about who I put trust in, and that's why I'm like right in the middle. Like I do not know, I don't know.
So
You know,
when I saw you, the last time I drove down to your place, I had that fucking van. Remember that van?
I'm drawing a blank. Actually.
When you were still living at the tower.
Minivan.
Oh, the tower.
I honestly don't remember the van though.
Yeah, I don't
Do you
remember
remember
either.
James's car?
Kind
The
of.
Camry?
Kinda, sorta,
That green piece of
maybe?
shit?
Yeah, kind
Okay.
of.
Did you think that either of us owned those things at the time?
I
don't-
would
I
guess
don't know.
yes, like I would probably say okay, sure, if you said that, but it's not really affecting me. Like I don't really have to prove you wrong in order to progress my life in any way.
Yeah, it's not like
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like,
So,
prove
No.
it.
No,
so
obviously, like
like
some things.
obviously when I'm asking for evidence about an unusual statement, it's not because some homeless person is shouting about aliens on the sidewalk, and I'm like, "Give me more evidence, please." So, I'm not going to consider what he's saying at all. Whereas something that that a person has more relevance in my life, and the question has more meaning to me, I am definitely going to need a lot more evidence.
Sure, but like, if I drove up with a Ferrari, and I was like,
No,
yeah,
I wouldn't
I own
believe
I
that.
wouldn't believe you.
I wouldn't
Yeah,
wouldn't
believe
believe
you.
you guys were very quick to say that. There was no equivocation.
Okay, no,
Right,
I get what you're trying to say. Chances are I probably would believe you if you told me that the car, like not the Ferrari, but the other car was yours, even though I'm like, because I don't really care enough to question it. But if you said you owned a Ferrari, I'd probably be like, cool, let me drive the Ferrari.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Even if I were to show it to you, would you still be like, yeah, he owns a Ferrari, or would you be like, oh, maybe he rented a Ferrari and he's fucking with us?
I would probably think you rented the Ferrari, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because I know
I
you
would too if either
well
of you guys
enough
showed up
not.
with a Ferrari. Yeah.
Yeah, I would know you well enough not to go and spend a
Yeah.
bunch of money on a Ferrari.
Yeah, I guess there's that too. I would probably
Yeah.
never. I would have to have a lot of fucking money to do that, and I don't have that much
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll keep rolling with this.
Unbiased.
Go ahead, Russell.
I'd say just like it's just a matter of bias, right? Like when you're investigating something, you have to be unbiased about. That's what I feel about this question in general.
Yeah. Like strong evidence is that they know you, so they know and trust you, so they have like a different. Nothing you'd say would be too unusual to them. You understand, right?
No, I think I showed the opposite. That if I said I owned a Ferrari, they would question that.
No, for sure. There's definitely some things. If something was like out of the nature of what they would know from you, they would question it.
Yeah, that would be unusual, and then that would require more evidence. They wouldn't just trust me based on something that was mundane.
This is the exact reason why I went. I don't know for this question because just I don't fucking know, man. I want to trust you, but I don't fucking know anymore. Okay, I don't know.
All right, I'm going to pop up to number 4 because I think this is a useful one. People create words and define their meaning. Two people put 2 there, Maria and Zion. Why not fully agree?
Did I not explain to you?
For number 4, we haven't talked about this at all.
No, I told you. I don't. I interpreted it as that one as strongly agree. I don't know, strongly.
He doesn't put strongly.
I don't put strongly agree for anything.
Oh, you just don't put strongly agree for anything.
Yeah, I agree with the statement.
Okay.
So
all right. I'll have to just try to remember that because
yeah,
that's not how it's meant to go. But that's fine.
I'm
Zion?
sorry.
That's okay. Don't worry.
I really don't have a good answer for that one. I just thought it was kind of far out space nuts.
Want to be a little cheeky? Yeah. All right.
People create words and define their meaning.
I don't know about cheeky as much as just yeah. I mean, people create words and define the meaning, but I'm sure there's some shit out there that has just been stuff like portmanteaus and whatnot that are like not really having their meaning created from the word itself, but the amalgam of the words that are being thrown together to make said phrase or word. I don't know. I just don't fully trust that one. I don't know. That's it.
Let me ask this another way. Is there anything other than people that create words?
AI.
Which was created by people. Come on.
Parrot?
No, I mean that's pretty true.
Because I was gonna say that same statement. They made a robot that can speak, but it speaks only what we interpret as human words that we hear through its random.
There was also that those two AIs that talked to each other, and eventually they made up their own language, and the computer scientists couldn't understand them, so they had to shut down the experiment. Right? So maybe they are creating words and defining their meaning, and we just don't understand.
Right. Maybe this is a limitation of the word people, but and this is that's what's really interesting about a lot of these questions. You never know what word is going to make someone think differently about them. So like people is meant to be like maybe like minds, thinkers create words, as opposed to like the way that we're using it versus AI, which is like humanity. That's interesting. Okay, cool. The thing that one of the reasons this question exists is one, so that we understand that for the most, pretty much all the words that we use are defined by people, and that we don't think, and some people think that actually the words kind of exist in like a Platonic sense, where like they're already there, and then reality derives from them, which I didn't think anybody here thought, but there are people who think that way. It's like, no, the word rose can only mean the word rose, and it can only map onto the object rose, and that's not our fault. We kind of discovered the word rather than invented it.
Yeah, that's still a tad ridiculous.
Yeah, no. Sometimes things people believe are ridiculous. So.
Oh yeah, no, especially because I can imagine if you get somebody in here or somebody reading some of these answers and actually or questions and answering them, and they're like, "What? There's no silly French word for baseball." Like of course we made that word, or it's like shit. Of course, shit just doesn't exist. Somebody defined them and made them up. But I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
Like I said, there's portmanteaus and shit, like animal sounds or certain noises or whatever. Yeah, onomatopoeias. Thank you. That's the thing I was looking for as well.
Onomatopoeias is like bang and
I would argue that all of those things are still created by people.
They are, and
because they're different in different languages. Like a cat is a meow or a nyan in Japanese. It's a different sound that the cat makes. Is a different word.
It has an accent.
Humans,
but isn't that further evidence that the sound? There is not a one onomatopoeia for a meow, and the fact that different cultures, different languages use different words to describe that phenomena, even in the onomatopoeic form, is onomatopoetic. I love that word.
Onomatopoetic. You're an onomatopedophile.
I might be, actually, based on the fact that I love that word.
People do create words, and also they do define their meanings, for sure. There's no other way of going around that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's go to number one, because obviously this is really a deep one. A statement is true when it corresponds to reality. And I see that most of us mostly agree. Maybe we'll get to that. But Xeon disagrees. And that is interesting. So Xeon, how did you understand question number one?
Well, I mean, statement is true when it corresponds to reality. So, like, the sky is blue. Like, yeah. Okay, cool. Water's wet. Okay. Yeah. But then, we also have crazy people who are like, Trump's still president. It's like, well, apparently fucking not. Or, just we have...
So actually, there's a good example. Trump is still the president. It doesn't correspond to reality, right? Like that. That's how I think we all understand that.
Some people's reality, it does, though.
Yes, that's.
We'll get to that. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that's a lot of that. Let's see. There's another one too that I was kind of looking at.
Probably number 2.
Which no,
Okay.
no. Shit balls.
All right, we'll come back. We'll come back.
To that. It was 18 that the most important criteria for my beliefs is that they match reality, and yes,
right.
that is based just like this. Like, of course, a lot of what I believe corresponds to reality, but there's stuff that, like, especially all of us playing games, like they exist in our realm as a entity, a digital aspect, I guess, but that's not really real. I mean, it is reality that you're playing the game, but anything that happens in like said game isn't like, something that happens in the real world itself. You're just, numbers and shit on it.
How does that map onto the importance? So the way I understand this question is that when I'm deciding what it is that I'm going to believe or not believe, the thing I care about the most is whether it's true or not.
Yeah.
And so you brought this up, I guess, because, there are people who choose not to believe things which are true.
Yes, or much like I said, the Trump thing, like flat Earth, flat earthers, anti-vaxxer, like just.
But I think you're commenting on the fact that they don't agree with the statement.
I think he's trying to say that this doesn't correspond, even though to him it means that, like, for him, when a statement, is true if it corresponds to reality, but just based on his observation, it's not necessarily true because of based on what he's seen. As an example, Trump.
Yeah.
Maybe if you could explain your number one answer again, because I think I understood, but I kind of got thrown off by where you went with number 18.
Oh, well, I mean, that was only a very short thing there with 18. No, just like sure, a statement could be true if it corresponds to reality, but there's a lot of shit out there that's not based in reality that people still think are true.
Right, but this isn't about what people think, right? This is a statement is true. So here's an example. If there's a desk in front of me, okay? If I say there's not a desk in front of me, is that true?
To you or to the person?
Yeah, of course not.
So it's not true because it doesn't correspond to reality, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And can you think of a time or of an instance when a statement is true but doesn't correspond to reality? You seem to think that there are some exceptions to the statement, which is why you chose disagree. And I would like to understand that. And please don't feel weird about it, because we all answered a bunch of things way differently. And a lot of us haven't really considered these things in the way that we're talking about them now. So don't worry about that.
But he was talking before about people with like impaired realities, like maybe people on drugs or like people that have like disabilities, that their reality is different. They'll see things differently.
Yeah,
like
I do want to touch on that.
Exactly true to them as it is to us.
Yeah,
in their reality.
That statement of go ahead, Zion.
I was going to say, well, I mean, a statement is also like an oral declaration sometimes. So it's like, even words don't always have to be true. I mean, especially compared to reality, like you said with the desk, of course. But the fact that I can't see you, and if you really don't have a desk in front of you, like, but yet you were telling me like, oh yeah, I have this desk in front of me, and it's like, no, you don't. How do I know you physically have a desk? Like,
yeah, but like if for some of this, we just need to be able to, so we can talk about these things, that we can assume some things, right? Like if I say like Tom is unable to talk, that statement is false because you are able to talk, right?
The only way
Right?
I see
Can you talk, Theon?
the only way I see this being false, like to disagree with this, if you put a person in a vacuum, like without anybody else looking at their reality, that person's reality is true. No matter what they believe, they could be hallucinating, but that is true. All of those statements that they believe are true.
Okay,
As soon as you introduce somebody else, then you the whole system breaks down. There's no way.
That's very interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
I do want to come back to that, but I would like to wrap up with Xeon about this still, because I don't think we got to the bottom of that.
I don't think there's much to get to. This is the last one I answered. So
Really?
this is one
Okay.
that I said that I was staring at for a bit.
Let me put this differently. If you could choose to define when a statement is true, how would you define that?
I'd probably, God, see, even that's a hard question because it would depend on the statement. Depends on the statement that gets made.
Right, and I'm trying to divorce this from any specific statement, like that's purposefully how this is meant to be. But
I know
this is more of me asking you to define what does it mean for something to be true.
Yeah.
What does truth mean?
Statement can be interchanged with a fact, right? Fact is true when it corresponds with reality, or no?
In a sense, I don't like to use fact there because fact implies it's already true.
Sure. I understand what you're saying there. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it really just depends on the statement. Depends on what the truth or what is true about it.
So
what the standard is.
What could be a statement that is true that doesn't correspond to reality? If you're tired of me grilling you, tell me, and we'll just move on because I don't want to do that to you.
Well, I'm trying. Like I can't tangibly throw something together. Because like I said, I think my brain went to a lot of stuff having to do with
like religion and stuff.
No, not for this. I was just
okay.
I literally started thinking about like more dumb shit where it's like, okay, reality could be, God damn it. Once again, I'm gonna tell you motherfuckers, somebody tells me that pancakes are good, and I'm gonna be like, yeah, sure, but reality is, motherfucker, that waffles slap. Like,
but I mean, can't somebody just be wrong? I don't understand how that's
of course it really I guess it depends more on somebody's concept of reality, what their reality is.
Imagine if aliens came from a different planet and they perceive reality almost completely differently than we do, which allows us to question all of our beliefs, with the statements that we hold as true, and reevaluate them with a different perspective. So in that aspect, doesn't reality shift depending on
my understanding is that based on what you said, you're saying the aliens know more about reality than we do, and we are wrong. But the reality is still there. Maybe. Yeah, maybe in whatever ways that you're going to say that they're able to like reveal to us.
The reality is there, but how we perceive it makes it. It's a very personal experience, right? I have no idea how you are perceiving.
Is our perception and reality not two different things?
Yes, they are two different things.
Yeah,
I agree with
you. Yeah, actually, this is a great intro to number 2 and may get us onto some of what we were just talking about. So we all share the same reality and interpret it differently.
Well, let me just say something about 1 again, because I didn't strongly agree with it, because I think there's some true statements, like how you were saying to him. I think there are some true statements that don't quite, I wouldn't believe in. Like, there's some stuff about space that the NASA people talk about. I don't quite believe in the reality of what's in that space yet.
Well, I mean,
And
like, you may... Go ahead, Cody.
Same thing with, like, energy fields on Earth. I'm not, like, real solid on that, you know?
Right,
On,
but
like,
there are things that are true or not true, basically. And whether or not we believe them doesn't really have a big impact on that, right? I mean, like, the NASA people could be wrong. And if they're wrong, that means more or less that doesn't map to reality. And what you believe or don't believe doesn't make a big difference about whether that's the case or not.
But that statement that they were saying might not be true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they could be wrong.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Well,
that's why I don't 100% agree, right?
Well, I mean, it's not like NASA defines reality.
No. But like they're trying to, like, there's a larger statement of discovering of what this reality is, and they're like one of the entities that push, I guess, some space realities, which is like weird.
Maybe if we think about it less like they push space realities and they push our understanding of it, and our understanding can be wrong, but the reality is there, right? So I think this is part of the we all share the same reality and only interpret it differently. Maybe NASA has interpreted it one way, and it's not the way that actually represents reality.
Sure. Yes, exactly. I think we're like gravity's like that to me with this scientist.
You mean like there's this thing called gravity out there, and you don't think we've got the right handle on it?
Yeah, I don't think we have the right vision on it. No.
Yeah, and that could be the case, but there's probably something there, and we might be wrong about it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So number 2, Maria, if you want, or Rossman, you said something that I think applies directly to number 2, which was if there's a guy in a vacuum and everything that he believes is true is, I think, more or less what you're saying, that everything he believes is true unless someone is there to oppose that.
Yeah, so what I was trying to do with that was kind of, for number 1, give a reason why Xeon's disagree would work. Like, I would say, yes, a person's statement is true when it corresponds to their own individual reality, but only if they're in a vacuum. Because if you observe them in any way, you have the knowledge that they are wrong, but just by looking at them and saying, like, that person thinks they're talking to a person in front of them, right? Just by me viewing this, it proves them wrong because there is no person standing in front of them.
Are people wrong? Do people believe true things until someone proves them wrong?
Without existence, can we prove or disprove anything? Don't things just exist without us observing them?
Yeah, that's my understanding.
So even whether or not we believe something is true, reality exists in its state of realness, right?
Right.
So,
well, you were saying this guy in the vacuum, if he believes something that is not true but isn't made aware of it, somehow it's still true.
Because there's nobody else to say if it's true or not. He is the only person that exists, right? So he is the arbiter of truth.
Is he?
Yes, because without observing anything, you're not. You can't say if it's true or not. If you don't exist,
so you're saying you
doesn't
can't
matter.
say it's true or not. But
truth doesn't exist without mankind, without existence.
Okay, let me. That's interesting. So you
Because
believe the Earth
otherwise
is
it
real,
just
right?
exists. What?
Well, yeah. I do you agree with the statement that reality exists independently of what people think about it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And even though there would be no one to interpret the statement, statements could be said about a reality in which there are no people that would be true or false.
But like by asking that question, we're observing that place, right?
No,
So
not necessarily.
We are applying either truth or lies to that reality.
Well, in our thought experiment, we are, but we are not creating things which are true or things which are false. Those things already exist.
The existence doesn't need to be true or false, right? It just exists. It doesn't need any interpretation, right? It's upon us. Our existence craves to understand things, to look at patterns and make sense of our life. So we're the ones that say things are true and things that are false in order to understand the things that are around us. There's no reason for things being true or false without living biological or otherwise creatures existing.
Right. Let me expand this a little bit differently then. In the time before people on Earth, were there dinosaurs?
Our interpretation of the evidence that we've looked at says yes, right? But
right.
Again, it doesn't matter what we think.
Well, I'm just saying, like, would that have been a true statement?
Yes.
Dinosaurs existed before people.
Yes.
Yeah, and similarly, before even dinosaurs, like, I think we can say the Earth existed, right?
Yes.
So, like, statements can be true without people there to observe them. And that statement was true even before we existed. No one had contemplated it at that time, but it was true, right?
I am saying it's true, right? I am saying it happened, but we know it's true because we applied science and saw what happened.
Right.
And
but we don't have to do that for things to be true or not, right? There are things which are true which we have not contemplated. Would you agree with that?
Without us existing, there is no need for truth, though.
Right. Because but we're trying to separate need from just what is, right?
Okay.
Well, truth would be like it rains on Earth.
Yeah. Yeah. And so like there are some facts which are true that we don't even know that we should question at this time, right? Like we can't even formulate the statement this is true because we just don't know enough, right?
Right.
But like that state of being of something being true or not exists independently of us evaluating things specifically, right?
Yes.
And I get you're saying
that you're killing me.
But there's no reason. Well, no, I think this is an interesting.
No, it's how he's saying it. Yes.
The whole reason that I thought about that was in the first place was a thought experiment, right? Like my answer to number one is I strongly agree.
Yeah, I understand that.
Statement is, I was trying to think of why we would disagree about that, right?
Right.
And the only reason that I could come up with is one that doesn't really happen in real life. We exist in this life, right? So I believe in what you're saying, right? But we also have to consider that the only reason why we can actually think these thoughts about the universe is because of us existing, right? And us perceiving things. As soon as we're dead, it's people tell us we're going to go to heaven. No, man, it's just computers shut off. We don't do any more thinking. We don't exist anymore, right? So You can't remember what happened before you were born. You're just going to be told all about history and these discoveries and stuff like that, right? So I like I said, I believe what you're saying. I thought the only reason why I wouldn't believe in it is if we isolate the experience from the existence.
Yeah. Well, so let's just give you an example. Some people would say to number one, reality doesn't matter about what's true. It's just about what I believe, for example. Like
a lot of these are like kind of religious.
Hold on, I have to run to the bathroom. Sorry, guys, 1 second.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Some of them are meant to kind of encapsulate religious beliefs, but I can tell you that people will answer all kinds of things to these questions, and they have nothing to do with religion. It's truly interesting. All right, Cody, for number two, we all share the same reality and only interpret it differently. You put only in the middle.
Yeah, because like I'm, I strongly believe that we're all in the same galaxy, same planet, but like people interpret being on this planet differently.
Yeah, that's what the question says, or the statement says.
Yeah.
Well, so why not agree or strongly agree? It seems like you agree.
What?
Yeah, maybe I should have.
We're talking about number two.
I should have. I probably should have put just agreed on that one.
Okay. And Maria, why did you choose disagree for number two?
Sorry, which question? Number what?
Number two. We all share the same reality and only interpret it differently.
The poop question.
It's taking way longer than I thought, guys. Sorry. We can stop whenever you want.
So I came at it from like more of like a psychological perspective. There are several people that unfortunately have serious psychological problems, and their reality is different than ours. Their brain operates differently than ours. So I kind of took it from there. Like, even though we want to pretend that it's the same reality for them, it's not the same reality. So I kind of looked at it from like a more of a psychological perspective, like if the brain doesn't function properly.
So I'm going to ask you the same thing I asked Cody.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't that mean that they interpret it differently? Isn't that agreeing with the statement?
Not necessarily, because they experience things. I don't know, like it depends on how you define reality. You know what I mean? Like, it really depends on how you describe reality. I don't think.
Let's put it a different way then. Yeah, it depends on which word you're getting hung up on. So if we say reality as someone's subjective interpretation of the world, would we say that's different from what one might call objective reality? Like, those are two different things that we sometimes use the same word
simulation?
For. Sure.
What if we're in the simulation? Like, what if this is the Matrix?
So, like, what if we're in the Matrix, but we're not really in the same Matrix? Is that what you're getting at?
No, because then I also thought of the
or
singularity.
Are you just shitposting?
I was like, and also like multiverse and like string theory. I'm like, I don't know. It's hard to say.
So, but what you were saying about people who are like psychologically damaged, who don't have the same ability to interpret reality that we do, so they interpret it differently. You saying that they have a different reality, right? Which I understand.
Well,
but that's separate from there's a difference between their reality and reality, right?
How do you define reality? What's reality?
Sure. Yeah, like that's the thing that exists, whether or not we believe in it, and no matter what we think about it, right?
So why can't there be different realities?
Well, if your interpretation of reality is that there are different realities, then that's something.
Well, I mean, let's say we want to use the word that way. What value does it have? I think we all understand the concept of objective reality, right? Like, raise your hand if the answer to that is no.
How are we raising our hands?
Say something. Say something. Yeah.
Oh, I thought this was a test. Like, well, I can't see you raising your hand because that is your perception of reality.
Oh, got it.
But I mean, like, I think we all get that concept that we share a reality, right? Like that there is something that's there that we're all experiencing and living in that where we're sharing, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And like, pretend we don't use the word reality. Let's just say, we are all on this Discord call together. We all share this Discord call.
But see, I'm looking at the definition of it, and it says reality is the sum or aggregate, whatever, of all that is real or existent within a system, as opposed to which is only imaginary. The term is also used to refer to the ontological status of things, including their existence.
Sure.
In physical terms, reality is the totality of a system, known and unknown. And then it says philosophers and scientists often debate about the true nature of reality, and a common philosophy is that a person's reality is whatever he or she thinks it is. So that's why I interpreted the question that way, because that's how I interpreted it as well.
Yeah, because you could create stuff from your mind into reality.
And make it your own reality. And make it your own reality, just like how they how a psychologically ill person can make something their own reality, like hearing or hallucinations. That's their reality. I don't know. That's just how I looked at it. So
right.
Sorry.
So no, don't be sorry. I'm sorry. So I have the feeling that we have like kind of two uses of the word reality there, right? One is that space that we all share, and the other one is kind of your interpretation of the world that you can't escape. Like you can't help but perceive the world any way other than you perceive it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why some people are, stuck in really terrible places, truthfully. So would you agree that there are these two uses of the word reality?
Yeah, I would say that because I think if you use like perception, I know everyone has different perceptions of whatever. So I think it's the word that I got hung up on.
No, I wouldn't even really consider it being hung up on. So when we talk about sharing the same reality, right? There's like, we all share the same world, let's say, and if it didn't say interpret it differently, if it said we perceive it differently, would that line up more with the way that you think of the world?
Yeah, then I would agree.
Yeah. No, that's I think a common thing. And this is a tricky thing too, because I think that happens a lot, like kind of like that says, where we kind of have this word like reality that maps onto two very different ideas, right? Like in your case, you were using it in the answering this question as someone's subjective experience. And I was looking at that word knowing that definition exists, but using it in the sense of basically those first two or three definitions from that dictionary that you read.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
Cool. Okay, Cody, you said something interesting, which I want to find the question for.
Like creating things into reality?
I'm just grabbing a drink. I'll be right back.
There's a question that kind of lines up with. Explain that to me then. Just that on its own.
What do you mean? Like people's thoughts, like creating things?
Yep.
Well, like people, I guess, interpreted stuff and like created. Like the iPhone is like souped up technology that like was thought up and brought into this reality, and like now almost everybody has it.
Right. Okay. So you're saying that people's thoughts can cause people to do things, to create things.
Yeah, for sure. like create things into reality out of nothing, just their minds.
Where they didn't if I were to take that statement as you said it,
even
but not
without
as we
action.
described it, even without an action. So let's look at number 6, actually. Strong belief, even without action, can change external reality. That's the question that I was looking for, by the way. You put in the middle, right? But in the scenario you just described, a lot of actions were taken, really, in order to create the iPhone.
Sure.
Yeah. What made you put in the middle? And is that part of your thoughts creating reality?
Oh, because I truly believe that things happen without action, without much. Oh, I guess without. Okay. Well, maybe I got this question kind of wrong. I guess like there's technically there usually has to be an action for something to change.
Oh, see, no, this is where I'm going to partially pretty much agree with you, because I'm also in the center where, like, in that phrase, it says without action, but, like, there have been revolutions that have been started, I mean, by word. I mean, is word still action? I guess technically, yes.
I would say word is action here, yes.
It is, but for sake of argument, it is not a physical action. Okay, well, speaking is whatever. Let's just fucking trash can that one. Regardless, it was still starting to push the snowball of something happening. So it was like an action or a reaction to start an action happening.
Yeah, like I went down that line of thought too, where I was like, some people might be in like support of a war, but they won't take any action. And other people will take action. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But also,
I mean, which one of those two are going to have an effect on reality? Those who took an action or those who took no action? Or both?
Oh, I think both have a possibility.
And so maybe it'd be better if you guys came up with an example of a situation in which you could have a belief, no action, and change external reality.
Well, it's like, now the more I think about it, like, I somewhat do think there, like, needs to be, like, it's hard for anything to be in motion without action. Some sort of action.
And that I agree with that, which is why I put disagree to this question.
Yeah.
If you understand, it sounds like when you first answered this question, you didn't fully consider the without action section, Cody. Is that fair?
Yeah, I was more thinking of it like a silent action, which is still an action.
Sure. And I think more importantly, we're talking about external reality, right? So not just your own thoughts about a thing, but something in the world, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying now. It's like I wasn't really thinking about the action thing as like an active motion in this question.
Right, I get you. And Zion, it sounds like you're still undetermined.
No, I'm not. That's why I chose I don't agree or disagree.
Right. Can you think of a scenario where a belief without action could change external reality?
No, that's also why I didn't fully agree.
And why not disagree then?
Like I said, I mean, there have been things like, I guess that would be agree. Hold on. My fucking... It's too much.
Is this interesting for you guys, by the way? I assume since everyone's still here, that somewhat at least.
Sorta. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, of course, this whole thing's developed to fucking make
I'm
people
getting a
think
kick out of this, so... Like...
Yeah, I'm sure you are. You're probably on your third nut shooting ghost loads over there. The thing that made me more center to agree and not disagree is that I was thinking like strong belief even without action can change external reality. People could fucking sit here all day and tell me that Christ is coming back. And sure as shit as God wears sandals, you know it's not gonna fucking happen with strong belief.
Right. But even
Like,
then, that would be action, right? Like someone telling you that.
Sure, but what level of action?
Yeah. And
But
the way
so that
that
was
you, yeah, the way that you put that is another way that people kind of interpret the question, which is not how I think it's meant to be interpreted. But the idea that talking isn't necessarily action or communicating, right? As opposed to action in the form of, taking to the streets or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, this is the way, now that we've been doing this for a while and I've read over the questions again, that's why they chose to word them the way they did, is to get the different responses.
No, not necessarily. It's just very difficult, trust me. I've seen other versions of this. This has changed a lot. And because people get hung up on all kinds of shit, or they interpret things differently. And sometimes just because of their beliefs, and sometimes just because of the way that they're used to using certain words.
Well, looks like somebody needs to go back to the drawing board for the 16,000th time.
Yeah, dude. The guy who gave this its current form has gone through this thing literally hundreds of times to refine it to where it is now.
Well, Rome wasn't built in a day, or maybe it was. I don't know. It depends on my reality.
That's a good point.
Oh.
Okay. All right. So I this is an interesting juxtaposition, as much as that word needs to be used at all. So number 3, truth depends on the opinions and beliefs of people. Almost everybody disagrees or doesn't have a stance on it either way. But Cody, you put a statement is true if everyone agrees. That's interesting to me.
Yeah. See, like that one, I was interpreting like in the past, and like for everything, a statement is true until someone disagrees with it, and then it is.
Is it true until they're proven wrong, or were they just wrong?
No, it is in fact
wrong all along.
Yeah, it's a true statement until someone disagrees with it.
So
that's what
5,000 years ago, if someone says the Earth is flat, is that true?
They believe it. If they're believing it and no one disagrees with it, I believe that's true.
If someone believes a thing, is it true?
If someone believes a thing, is it true?
That's right.
Yeah, I'm saying to them, if they...
To them it is, but is it actually true?
Yeah, I understand they believe it to be true, but is it true?
To everyone, yes. To everyone.
Wait, say that again, Kurt?
5,000 years ago, they said the Earth was flat, and everybody believed that guy. So the Earth was actually flat, or was it round, and they just didn't have all the information? And now that we have the information, we knew that they were actually wrong. That was not the truth.
Yeah.
Right. So the truth is consistent. It doesn't change depending on if people believe in it or not. Right. It's the world was round the whole time. Doesn't matter if you called it flat. Right.
No, I do think people's beliefs do matter in their reality.
No matter how many people believed that the world was flat, though, the world was not going to become flat. It was round the entire time. So
it's actually egg shaped.
So it doesn't actually thank you.
Right? That's the whole truth thing, right? So
Cody, explain how it's true.
How it's true? What do you mean?
Everybody thinks the Earth is flat 5,000 years ago.
Sure.
How is that a true statement? In what way is that a true statement?
A true statement. Well, I guess I was thinking about it through like the reality of people.
Right. Well, this doesn't use the word reality. This just says true.
Sure, sure. But it's people. It's people agreeing, which is us, right?
But I think we agree that reality is independent of us, right? Reality was there even before there were people.
Maybe.
Yes. Yes, I do. Agree.
You want me to beat him up for you, Cody?
No, not at all.
I'm just joking.
That should be a question on the survey. If someone is wrong, should you beat the fuck out of them?
Or interpreting it as like I don't know, I guess I was interpreting more through the view of people of the times, including now, like we agree statements are true until people disagree and like disprove them.
Right. And I get what you're saying, but I think there's like our understanding and then there's what is actually true, right? I think you agree those are two separate concepts, right?
But like that's, yeah, I understand that for sure. But like that's hard to say because like that truth is part of our world. Like our fake truth is part of our world as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, like let's put it this way: if everybody believed that the Earth was flat 5,000 years ago, it would be a true statement to say that everyone believed it was flat, right?
And they're all right that they're saying it's flat.
They're all correct that everybody else believes that.
Yeah.
That still
that is
doesn't make it true, right?
No, it doesn't make it overall true. No.
Right.
I don't believe.
Yeah.
Would
you still put yourself in that response then?
Yeah, I guess I would move over to like the middle, maybe, or like to the ones where you guys are at.
Yeah. Okay.
But I still like things are true, like facts, and like there's true reality until usually someone disagrees with it, and then it completely changes.
Well, I mean, weren't we just misunderstanding things and wrong? Isn't that what that actually means? Not that
True.
The nature of reality is different.
But that's not what this statement is, right? It's not talking about a reality.
A statement is true when it corresponds to reality. So if a statement doesn't correspond to reality, then it's untrue. And our understanding of it is independent of all those things. Well, usually we understand things which are true just because of the way our brains work and all that kind of shit, but like that's not they aren't necessarily tied together. Okay, I have another bit to this question because I put myself in mostly disagree, but not fully disagree. I'm curious as to why one of the folks who put themselves there didn't put themselves all the way at the end.
Which one?
For number 5, why in column 4 but not in column 5?
I mean, if everybody agrees there, it's like most likely true, right? But there's always a possibility that could be proven false. And if you want, you can go about doing that yourself, right? But most of the time when I look at for multiple sources and they're all saying the same thing, I believe that
so you're saying that
true.
not tautologically as a answer to like a statement is true if everyone agrees. That's not always true, but sometimes everybody agrees to something and things are true, and actually that happens a lot. Right. So you're saying that like sometimes that turns out to be the case, which is why you don't want to be
most of the
agree.
time.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Sure. Cool. I didn't put myself. Oh, go ahead, Zion.
No. I was just agreeing. That's very, very well said.
Yeah. I didn't put myself there for that. I put myself there because I think sometimes things are just definitionally true or not, and then that depends on kind of how we agree about things. Like you can make statements about what everybody believes or doesn't believe. Kind of like the Cody, the flat Earth one, right? 5,000 years ago, everyone thought the Earth was flat. That's probably a true statement, and it's a true statement specifically because of what everyone thinks.
That's why when Justin said his thing, I was like, yeah, he just said what I said, but like better. I was like, damn it.
Right.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Sometimes that'll happen. Okay, actually, I guess we went about Rossman. We should be satisfied with a test that can only confirm our claim. Where do we end up on that?
Which one was it? 9?
It was the first one we started with, I think.
Yeah, it was my interpretation of it. I said I would probably disagree more.
Okay, right.
I went on the belief of science, not religion, which I think you guys were.
For which one, Cody?
Oh, you don't have to believe in science. That's the thing. Science is science,
Science
with or
believes
without
in
my
you.
belief. Yeah.
All right. Actually, this is interesting. For number 8, someone can be certain something is true and still be mistaken. You put not necessarily, Cody. I'm curious about why.
Well, I was thinking like some people like try and pull stuff out of their head and like believe that that's true, but they're slightly mistaken.
Sorry, I just like how you said how the tone changed.
So I think you would more agree with it, though.
Yeah, that sounds like you agree with it. And I'm curious to what extent you don't agree with it.
Well, some people.
I think it sounds like Cody agrees with it.
No, there was a reason why I put it there, I think.
If you remember, we'll come back to it, just for the sake of time.
Right.
Number 12. Xeon Cody especially. Feelings are a reliable way to discover truth. I disagree, but you agree. And I have a feeling this is going to rely on the definition of the word feeling.
Oh, me?
Sure.
I had like a feeling that I've gotten through my physical body after like encountering somebody that like I felt like I knew something, and it turned out to be true.
Right. So one of the words here is reliable, right?
Yes, I think it's somewhat reliable. I don't know how many times it could have happened to me. You know, it could happen more times if this happened. Like, I got this feeling. I met this person. I got this feeling. I was like, holy shit. And I told my brother, I was like, I feel like that guy killed somebody before. And he's like, oh, he did. And it was just like, where the hell did that feeling come from? That's the exact feeling I got as soon as I don't even know if I seen the guy. I just knew he was there.
Do you think it's possible to get a feeling like that and be wrong? Not that you necessarily have, but just do you think it's possible for that to happen to people?
Sure. That's why I'm in the middle, right? Like, I think it could go both ways. Reliable?
Well, I mean,
oh, yeah. Reliable? I think it's more reliable. I think that's kind of how judges work and stuff, and juries, right?
Well, I think to some extent you could say that, but maybe not.
I don't know. That was my feelings, and that's why I put it there.
Zion? Want to share with the class?
You don't get no answer from me, boy.
I think it could be reliable. You know, I don't know. You know, I don't know if I came up in that situation multiple times. It might not be reliable. Who knows?
Yeah, no, that's I think a lot of what I was going with was more not the definition of the word feelings, just truth, and actually like what truth you are discovering. Like if it's something about yourself, then yeah, sometimes your feelings are a great way to learn something about yourself, or
That's true.
I didn't think about that. Yeah,
just your opinion, just your thoughts or your opinions on something. Or, you know, of course, me, I relate a lot more of that to the last few years and everything I've been going through post-separation and post-terrible relationships afterwards, where I've learned a lot of things, a lot of truth about myself through my feelings and discovering my feelings.
Sure.
Yeah, and self-reflection and some masturbation. You know, a lot
especially self-reflection after masturbation when you're at your clearest.
Yes, when I regret everything that I have just done the previous 10 minutes before, and then I'm like, well, all right. So yeah, no, that was pretty much it. I was thinking more about like personal truths.
Sure. And for external truths, like truths about the world.
That's why I'm at a soft agree and not a rock hard agree. Because if it's an external truth, if it's something about the world, then like your feelings aren't always right. Like I guess this is also, like you said, leaning on the definition of feelings. Like personal feelings, sometimes shit about the world is not exactly a great way to discover the truth. Like, yeah, if it's something political, then maybe, but it would still be a personal truth. It wouldn't be a world truth. It's pretty much all I got on that.
No, that's fair.
Also,
it's nice to. I didn't consider that the way in which I think feelings could be a helpful way to discover truth, like in terms of self-reflection. That's cool to me.
Yeah. Also, feelings can be interpreted of just like reaching out and touching something, right? So, which is a reliable way of discovering truth. Also.
Oh, you mean like the sensation of touch?
Yeah, just like something is actually existing in front of you because you could touch it, right?
Right.
So,
yep. I wanna check out number 17. I think it's interesting. Someone is justified in their beliefs until they are proven wrong. And almost nobody agrees with this or disagrees with it.
Except for
me, yeah.
Well, if you
Justin, why?
Yeah. And I feel kind of bad because I've been grilling you guys all fucking for the last like hour or whatever. So feel free to ask me about my positions here because
what is your position on that?
I think the word justified is the problem in this.
Justinified.
And
what's
your
opinion on it?
Opinion?
Right. So I've chosen to interpret the word justified as meaning like it is a good reason to believe something to be true, right? As opposed to I can understand the reasons why they're retaining a belief. Does that make sense? I might not have expressed myself in a coherent fashion.
Oh, being justified means that they didn't do anything wrong. They're not maliciously.
Yeah, that's I think this is one of the questions I do have a problem with because of that. So in philosophy, there's this concept called justified true belief, and justify has no moral valence there. Justified means like there is good reason to hold that. And that's the way in which I'm using the word here for myself.
Okay, so someone has a good reason to have their beliefs until they're proven wrong. Even in that interpretation, like the reason why they have that belief is because, let's say, everybody else has that belief around them. So they are understandably having that belief until somebody comes to them and says, here's evidence that you're wrong.
Right, but is that a good reason to have that belief just because other people believe it, like the flat earth belief?
Right. So were they wrong? Like, see, justified is a fucked up word. That's
when you say wrong there, you meant it in the moral sense, right?
Yes, I did. Right. Yeah. So I think the problem's justified.
Right. If we were to replace justified with something that indicated has a good reason to believe their beliefs, would you be more in line with disagree?
I still think I would be I don't know because like I said, that someone does have like a good reason to have their beliefs until they're proven wrong. Right? That doesn't mean that
Sorry, when we're saying a good reason, we mean like a good reason in terms of a good reason to hold that belief, not
right, because they did their research in their reality, which is like the people around them telling them what their telescopes are telling them, right? You know, like
Sure.
imagine the flat Earth people again,
yeah,
right?
yeah, sure.
They're farming all fucking day long, otherwise they're dead, right? There's this one guy that's telling them what the stars are doing, and he seems to be right about the harvest cycle, so you might as well listen to him about the entire planet being flat, right?
Okay.
That person has a reason, a good reason to believe that,
I have
because the
two
only
thought
person
experiments for
asking-
you here. I think I understand what you're saying there, and I think I agree with it to some extent. So maybe I will change my thing on this. So I'll give you two examples. I think I'll start with the absurd one. If I believe that there is an invisible teapot floating around Mars, am I justified in holding that belief because no one's proven me to be wrong?
I suppose not. I suppose the burden of proof is more on you to prove that it exists,
right,
than someone else to prove that it doesn't.
Unless it's
right.
religion.
I think including religion. That was going to be my other example. Say I believe in God, and you say why, and I say, well, no one's showed me that God doesn't exist. Would that be a good reason for me to believe that?
No.
Right.
Right. So you agree with my example, and I agree with your example, right? So I think more I don't know, because it's almost situational and how we interpret the question, really. And going so extremely on the strongly disagree is like saying that there's no wiggle room here.
So the part of the I didn't explain the reason that I kind of agree with you. I do agree. I do believe, and I still believe that you should only believe things when there's good evidence to believe something. But I think part of that process needs to be trying to prove yourself wrong. So we had, which one is it? I know we talked about it already. Where is it? We should be satisfied with a test that can only confirm our claim. I don't agree with that, right? Because if you do a test and it couldn't prove you to be wrong, then it would be useless. But if you do a test that could prove you to be wrong and it doesn't prove you wrong, that is probably, assuming it's a good test, is a good reason. So for that reason, the fact that you haven't been proven wrong can be part of the evidence for a belief. And I think it's actually a required part of believing something that is true for good reason. So maybe I should put myself down on this one by a notch.
I think so.
But the question is meant to be like, if it is the sole reason, is it a good reason? In which case, I think no, right? Anyone else have any thoughts on this?
Well, like the number 9 one, like I took it more as like science in my view. And I was like, for sure, people, like, I disagree. Because in science, there shouldn't only be a test that confirms our claim. Like, if someone can disprove claims, like, tests should happen, you know? Like, we have to have, like, a believable truth, but, like, everybody should have the opportunity to disclaim it.
Yeah, no, I think I agree. If I think I understand you right, like, I think that's actually more what science does, is it tries to prove things wrong.
Yes.
or
Sure.
tries to prove things true by showing that, if it wasn't true, this would be expected, and then finding out whether that happens or not, right? Like,
Or
if I had a test that could only make me more confident and never less confident, how useful would that be in terms of figuring out if something is wrong? It would be useless to figure out if something is wrong.
like the scientific method is like doing the experiment and someone else being able to do the experiment and coming out with the same truthful claim,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's like that's the basis of it. But like, I guess once you prove it, it can't really be unclaimed, eh?
Well, I think often part of the problem is like we have a limited understanding of the world even now, and we can design a test that can show us something to be like we can design a test that says like gravity is real, right? And then it's like, oh, if I lift up an apple and I drop it, it falls. So yeah, that shows us that gravity is real, but it doesn't necessarily mean that God is pulling things to the earth, because it doesn't adequately establish what the cause is there, right?
Yeah.
And truthfully, that's probably a claim that can't be proven to be false. Could we design a test that says that things fall not because of gravity, but because God's pulling them to the earth? I don't think it is possible to design a test that does that. So that might be a claim that's not that you can't have a proper evaluation on, which means it might not be correct to believe it.
Mm.
I've been through a lot of this. Does anybody have anything they want to ask other people or myself about some of the stuff on here? Or maybe a question that you were like, oh, that was interesting?
Do I win this?
Actually, yes, you did win. You had the objectively correct answers to everything.
All right. Woohoo!
Really? Is this really? Can you win?
Yeah, no, I see a scorecard at the end, actually. And Rossman's got perfect marks.
What about everyone else?
Wow.
No, not seriously. That's a joke.
Oh, damn it. Oh.
The most interesting one to me, I think, is 13. I like how it's like me and then everybody else just going down the line, which, to be fair, it's...
So I assume you know what this is meant to reference, right?
Kind of.
Go ahead. I'm sure you're right. So just go ahead.
No, I'm not. I have nothing for it.
So this is basically a question of, should we use faith to determine what we believe, right?
Okay, so this is an allegory, a Christ allegory.
Not necessarily Christ, but just the idea of faith as a method to come to what is true. A lot of believers would say that, faith is believing something without evidence, and they would say that it is admirable because, well, look at how strong your belief is, even though you don't have evidence. That's usually how that's formulated.
Gotcha. So, what's the deal with all of...
Are you Seinfeld now?
What's the deal with question 17?
What's the deal with anal sex? No, just like everything is definitely like circling its tongue around the dick tip of religion with a lot of these questions. Like it seems like these are kind of not designed to bring it to mind, but there's definitely some of them that like want you to think about it on the forefront to develop an answer.
Sure. But there's the way that they're worded is to be interpreted by like the person. So if they're like more religious, they might see more religious things in here, right? Than just worldview.
When people are trying to answer questions, if they have a religious worldview, especially if that informs the way that they determine what's true or not, then that can definitely... So a statement is true when it corresponds to reality. A religious person might say something like, no, I completely disagree. A statement is true when God says it's true.
So because I'm so hypercritical of religion in general, this means that I'm going to look at all these and be like, well,
I think that happened. Yeah, that you looked at these and you thought like, oh, what would a religious person say to this, right? Or with your understanding of religious claims.
The fact that I've read a lot of fucking pamphlets or like questionnaires, and every time you see the word believing or belief, it's just like,
yeah.
You're gonna ask me if I'm a big fan of Jesus again, if I'm going to catch his world tour.
So there are two reasons why this questionnaire might make you think about religion specifically. One of them is like, this is meant to make you think about the reasons why you believe things. That's literally what this is about. And often religious people believe things for what I think we would consider to be poor reasons, which is why there's a lot of, let's say, tension between the way that some of us answer these questions and the way that a religious person might. And the other reason is that this thing, street epistemology, was kind of developed about 10 years ago by a dude who specifically wanted to deconvert religious people.
Nice.
Which is partly why that may be here. That might be the reason why like believing as a word shows up a lot, because a lot of people will immediately go to religion when it comes to that. But it's not meant to it's not specifically meant to be for that. It's just there's a lot of trace of that. Cody, I think I cut you off.
Like, I thought of religion a few times while reading this, because like some of the questions are like shaped that way. But then I'm like, I gotta think of like the bigger scope of like my beliefs, not like just what I'm like thinking about reading these statements.
Mm-hmm. I found that interesting because some of the way that Xeon, you answered this, you seem to be answering from the perspective of a religious person, in a sense, or just knowing that religious beliefs are out there, which I thought was interesting.
I guess I don't know.
Yeah. Or another common belief that people will approach this with are like, are you guys familiar with The Secret? Do you know what that is?
The Secret? No.
Don't tell anybody I'm gay.
Is it the head that somebody hides in their freezer from their wife?
Okay. Are you guys familiar with the law of attraction? Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
vaguely, I guess.
In short, it's kind of like if you believe something enough, it will manifest into reality, or it will happen, right?
The Oprah thing, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people would say something like, strong belief, even without action, can change external reality in terms of that. And a lot of people, when it comes to question number 2, we all share the same reality and only interpret it differently. They see things only from the perspective of what I believe is reality. There is no other reality. Not that there's a reality that's not accessible to me because of the limitations of my body and senses, but it's just that's all there is. And that can cascade down to a lot of the other things here. Or everybody believing something is true makes it true, in a kind of like reality is just our consensus about what things are, and not necessarily a thing that exists independently of us. So there's a lot of that type of thing. I'll link you to a video of someone not doing this survey, but going through an analysis of their reasons for believing something, who believes some fucking wacky ass things from my point of view, but that's fucking. But she does seem to very truly and sincerely believe them, and you guys might end up falling down the same rabbit hole. Yeah,
I don't understand how people can believe that kind of objectively false things, like, but people do.
Mm-hmm.
Objectively false things, like things that
provably false things.
Or like,
well, I mean, they in their worldview, it's not necessarily false, right?
Mm-hmm.
especially because part of their worldview involves what is false and what isn't, right?
I mean,
I'm not saying
number
they're correct.
24.
I'm just saying. Oh, go ahead.
Number
Yeah.
24. It is possible that some of my beliefs are not true. It's
Right.
like, why would anybody ever say disagree to that? Like, now everything.
It's very interesting you say that.
Do you want to go talk to that Trump supporter?
Yeah, that's the problem. Like, why would anybody have this? It's got to be a brain defect.
This
no
number
way
24. Number 24 is the one that most people will agree on. Of all the questions on the survey, that's the one that has the least disagreement in terms of the way that people answer. Everything else, people are all over the map, but that's the one that people mostly agree on. So
well, because you're proven wrong so often that it has to be.
Yeah, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why almost everybody has the experience of being wrong.
Yeah.
Almost everybody. I would like to see the person that doesn't.
Honestly, I was just gonna say, sorry, I had to grab something in the other room. I think it also has to do with your level of maturity and your age as well. Like when you're younger,
some people never grow out of that though.
Yeah, when you're younger, you tend to, think that you know everything, and everybody's out to get you, kind of thing. So it's like I think it just really depends on the person too.
Yeah, so like you'll see really weird things. Like it's possible some of my beliefs are not true. People will be like, yeah, of course. And then they'll say like, oh, but when I believe something that's false, it's different for me. I know it's false. It's like, well, if you know it's false, why would you believe it? And why would you think it's true? Part of what this reveals sometimes is that people can be inconsistent in the way that they think about things. And that is what can cause people to have strange beliefs, especially.
Everyone's inconsistent with their
people definitely don't view the world in like one concept. There's multiple concepts for like people, how animals act.
Yeah, no, like even in like your own life, a lot of people will apply different standards to different things. That probably affects their ability to perceive true things as being true. And that's just part of what it is to be human, right? Like we can all be wrong. Yeah. We all know that. and those kinds of flaws in our thinking are parts of the reasons why.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think of this in general? I wasted 2 hours of your time. I'm amazed that it lasted this long.
Did I win the prize?
No, I mean, it wasn't bad. And just, I guess I should have looked more into it before I started answering questions, because then maybe some of my answers would have been a little different. But
we should have been like, let's talk about this question.
It's actually better I prefer that we go because it helps us understand some of the reasons why like someone can say something and someone can interpret it completely differently, and you'd be like, why the fuck would that person say that? And it's like, oh, that's why. Yeah, and I think that's part of the value of not us going through each question and defining everything in advance.
Yeah, but if I would have remembered that epistemology is like more about the science of logic and reasoning, or the science of like theory and logic of reasoning, and knowledge, I probably would have just like not tied a lot of these answers to things that I did, because I don't fucking know. But
that's fair, dude. That's fair.
Why would that have changed any of your answers?
Because then I probably wouldn't have been like, oh, what fucking crazy religious nut fucking wrote this, and what kind of questions am I answering? Is this some kind of fucking like Jung personality test that I'm answering right now?
You mean like, do you feel you weren't answering honestly because you were concerned about it being like subversive or something?
You were doing a psych eval on him.
No, just I definitely would have tied wouldn't have tied some of the meanings behind some of the questions that I did.
Right, I get what you're saying. You may have interpreted some of the questions differently if you knew the background of this.
Yes, I would have. Yes.
Quite indubitably.
I told you, we're all here sitting on our brains.
Vis-a-vis concordantly.
Did going through this have you guys think differently about any of these questions, or the way that you guys approach the way you think about things?
No.
Yeah, that's the most common answer, by the way. That's the most common answer. Yeah.
No, not really.
This is just what I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Fortunately, I mean,
I kind of
there's no problem with that.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's the way you formulate things, I wouldn't see why you answering questions positively. Like, I mean, of course, there might be some things I might put a little more thought into, but me, like I was saying earlier, with like, fucking, do I need to investigate things that don't follow my beliefs still? Fuck no, I'm gonna keep on keeping on. Like, I've made it this far and made it pretty damn fine doing what I do. So
Yeah, I mean, nobody's opinion really swayed my mind too much. You know, everybody's opinion was pretty close to, what everybody already thought. You know,
I think relatively to the way I've seen this go, we agree on a lot more than we disagree on, and even to the extent that we disagree. Yeah, it was more of like maybe a matter of degree, or I think the most actually, if you guys were to do this again. I don't want us to do that, by the way. But I think if you were to do it again, any deviation in the answers would more be on the way that you understand the questions rather than your actual the way that you believe these things.
I don't know. I'd fucking do this shit again, and my brain would goldfish out, and next thing I know, I'd be like, fuck, I answered that one the same way again because I fucking didn't interpret it the right way, like a retard. Good job, me.
Yeah, and again, there's no wrong way. You didn't fail. You also won the test.
What? Wait.
Yeah.
No, I won it.
Woo! I won something, I think.
I'm sorry, but we all came in first.
Yeah, I figured.
So like on this test, someone told me one time. Forget if you pretty sure he was a religious person, but I forget the way that I met this person. And he asked me if I had like faith, and I told him no. And he's like, "You have to have faith."
Is it
And
George Michael?
I was like, I was like in my head, I'm like, why do I have to have faith? And he's like, well, like, don't you like walk into a building and like have faith that like the ceiling's not gonna fall on you? And I was kind of like, yeah, I would just call that trust. Like, I have trust in like the building and the people. It's like, why are you trying to bring in faith here? It's weird.
Well, that's an apologetic that religious people use, and they conflate faith to be like any belief, basically. Or trust. Yeah.
I'm like, I just hope that like the building's in repair and like the people knew what they were doing. Like, we all just have to trust that. Like, but he was like focusing it on like bringing it to faith, and I'm like, no, like that's not how I think about it. But I never even thought about like that happening. So now you're scaring me a little bit. I have to have faith in all this stuff.
Yeah, well, you do have a lifetime of walking into buildings and ceilings not falling in on you. So there's a bit more than just faith, right?
Yeah. But like at the time, I was just like, why are you bringing this up? Like, this is weird. Like, I never even thought of like that stuff not being like trustworthy.
Yeah, if I had to design that question, I wouldn't use a ceiling falling in on you. But yeah, the point there is like, there are things that you don't know are not going to happen, but that you don't think are all the time. And they want to extend faith to be like anything you believe.
Yeah. He was like, well, like, I guess faith is a good sort of word for it, but like trust or like depending on what you're talking about, you have to use different words. You can't just use faith all the time.
So like faith, like this is another thing that I will see happen a lot with people on these. So like we were talking about reality before, we had two different meanings, like an internal perception of the world, and then that thing that's out there, regardless of what we think about it. And a lot of people will use the same word, and they'll flop back and forth between the two meanings without realizing it. And that's kind of what was trying to be accomplished with the word faith in that argument. Faith can be just, a belief in something that you don't necessarily know the answer to, right? Or like, I have faith that my wife didn't cheat on me, right? But that's different from believing something without evidence, right? Which is the kind of faith that you and I would oppose.
Yeah.
So there's just these different meanings of the words, and trying to conflate them all can lead people to have disordered thinking.
Yeah.
Are you guys fed up with this yet? Anything else you want to ask?
No. Honey?
That's all I got because I'm going to go to bed.
Yeah, it was cool.
Anything you'd like to add?
I won.
Yeah.
I like the question. Sometimes I just got focused on like the view of people and not like a global scale.
You should be focused on your own views. What are your own thoughts about those questions for yourself?
Yeah, but I was thinking of myself as like a person in a global group of people, like in some of these questions, because like some of it's like all and stuff like that. Everyone agrees and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of had a feeling we would be around the same.
Yeah, I thought so too.
To be honest. Yeah.
Well, kind of got like somewhat same morals ish.
Yeah.
All of us.
I put something in off topic. Check it out whenever you guys want. There's like a series of questions of interviews with this chick, and they're just fucking fascinating to me.
The most crazy person you could find.
But she's not the most. That's the thing. She's not. I've seen other ones with crazy, like people who believe in like voodoo, or people who like some chick who does tarot, this kind of thing. In my opinion, those people have crazier beliefs than this person. But it's just how thought out and how sincerely this chick believes what she believes that I find interesting.
Mm-hmm.
My views on certain are a little different, because I do believe there's like some sort of like mental conscious level that like people feel. Like I got from the guy.
You
like
believe in the supernatural?
Do I believe in the supernatural? No.
You don't believe in ghosts and spirits and stuff like that?
No, I don't think so. No.
Yeah. Me neither, but yeah, some
people. I don't think any of that seems reasonable. Like I haven't seen.
Do you believe in like crystals and stuff? Like crystals, carrying a crystal in your pocket of a certain type will make you feel better, and
Isn't
like
that what your mom believes?
My mom, John, his sister.
Mm-hmm. That's another common thing. Yep.
Yeah. Do you believe that, Cody?
I'm unsure. I haven't made like a judgment on that, I would say, yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to be skeptical about something like that, right? Since crystals are not exactly new. It's not like new technology, like, oh, all of a sudden we found these crystals.
But why do you say something like that? What does like that mean?
Not exactly new, like I said. Like we've had crystals for a long time. We've been doing this research for a long time.
But I still don't understand what does that have to do with it? Like there's a link there that I'm missing.
If we found a crystal that like never existed on Earth, and we started carrying it around in our pockets and said like, "Hey, this makes me feel really good," then like maybe we should look into it. Like maybe it does something to us, right? But all of the materials that we've discovered in our on our Earth, like and from space around us, they don't do those things. We've
Right,
been
okay.
able to study them extensively.
You're saying because we already have pretty good evidence to believe they're not true because they've been around for so long.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I don't know. Like, from my knowledge, I think they do research on crystals and they have like resonance patterns unique. Like, I don't know, that could do something, but I'm it's hard for me to believe like in that. Like, I don't understand any of that. So, like, that's why I said like energy fields on Earth. I'm unsure about. Like, I'm unsure about that. What that stuff does.
So there's a lot of stuff that is like very linked to that. Like people who think like, crystals have some energy field and somehow that affects our lives. It's similar for like astrology is another pretty common one where people think that has an effect on our lives. And sometimes they'll say that the reason it has an effect on our lives is because of some kind of energy field. And usually it's like X belief, energy fields exist. Therefore, that's a plausible mechanism for the belief. And that last step is just completely left unexplained as to how it would affect us.
Yeah.
I don't really know how many fields there are. I know like static electric field and stuff like that, which is like around us like all the time just through touching stuff. But like I don't know other stuff, and like maybe there is other stuff. Like I have no idea. Science hasn't been like, they find like a whole bunch of stuff shooting lasers, bending light, and all this stuff. They find like weird stuff. Like I don't know about that. So I'm unsure on that. Like what I feel is like you can physically send attraction to somebody without even like really doing stuff into their head, and they can like somewhat pick that up and stuff like that. And the same thing, like I felt like that guy killed someone for no reason. I could have felt like anything else, but I felt this one feeling.
Well, for that guy, probably. Like it's not necessarily the case, but like there is such a thing as people acting shady is one thing. Like that is a thing, right? That
no.
They don't necessarily have to be like, I killed a man.
Did he have a teardrop on his eye?
Yeah.
Like I didn't see. Like if I seen him, I just like turned around, and took a look at him quick.
Right.
But it wasn't. I like barely seen the guy.
Yeah.
But before I had seen him just like walking down the hall, I had like this feeling, which was like really weird.
Yeah. And another thing, and that this may not be what happened in your case, but you may have thought you may have known about some guy who killed some guy before, and not known it was him. And somewhere something in your mind made that connection, and you just weren't aware of it when it happened.
Yeah. Yes. Like maybe like that could have happened. Like this person just could have like the feelings I got. This person just could have been scary or something without me like knowing, like him coming down the hall or something. Just gave me that feeling, without even like it could have been a woman, like who knows?
Yeah,
but I'm just saying. But like I feel you can project things mentally onto people and make them feel uncomfortable and stuff like that. Like all that stuff I believe in.
That's interesting. I don't think I believe in that, but I'm curious about how you think that would work, and why you believe it.
I think a lot of the time that people say like you're giving good vibes or bad vibes and stuff like that is just because the way that you feel you're projecting that with your body movements, like microaggressions, and stuff like that. People don't know exactly why you look shady or mad or sad or whatever like that, but the human evolution of just being able to read other humans' expressions and these micro ticks in their face, depending on what they're thinking, it makes them seem like they're bad or sad or whatever.
Is that the way in which you think that's true, Yeti? Because I agree with Justin there.
Yeah, I definitely think that could be a thing for sure.
But I mean, like, say you were in a room with a person and they couldn't see you, couldn't hear you, couldn't actually interact with you, but you were there. Do you think you could make them feel a certain way about you without them sensing you using their senses?
Yeah, I don't. I used to for like maybe like 2 years. I thought you can like do certain things with your mind.
Mm-hmm. I thought that for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, I tried magic before.
But do you think that is possible? Is that the way in which you meant what you're saying about being able to affect other people?
No, like you brought up like more. I guess you would probably be seeing people, so there would be more like unconscious like whatever's, you know, of your body or whatever. So maybe I was thinking that differently or whatever.
Yeah, no, and that's fair. Like, I think that's how all of us think about that, right?
But no, I did like I said for like 2 years think that like
you can
like,
basically telepathically get people to do or think things about you.
Well, not think things about you, but like the only thing that I thought was you can like, yeah, I guess that's exactly what you said. Like they would like have like a thought of you without you being there or thinking about you, like a reminder almost. Like you could pop a like a reminder in your head that you're around. Like you're not around, but like you exist. A pop-in head reminder of existing. You know.
Say that again.
Like if you think of it when you're talking about somebody and that somebody their ears start burning. People are like, my ears are burning. Somebody must have been talking about me.
Or hiccups. Hiccups.
So it's not real, but it's still some people think, yeah.
Is that the kind of thing that you meant in terms of what you believed like 2 years ago, or is that what you believe now?
Oh no, I just believed it for like 2 years. This was like maybe like
for 2 years. Yeah, my mistake.
8 years ago or something.
Yeah.
No, like I was like really thinking that like I was reading a lot of Buddhist religious stuff. And it was like very like it's focused on like being able to like meditate and elevate to another plane where you would be able to talk with other subconsciousness. And I was like, I don't think you can do that, but I think you can like put in that, like what they're saying, like, what is it? Sometimes like people sneeze or something and they're like, oh, someone must have said my name or something, thinking about me.
Japan.
Yeah, like that weird stuff. Like, I thought that was a possibility like that for like 2 years or something. Like that you could like focus to do that if you wanted to. I never tried it, but like I was just like I think you could do that if you really wanted to. And I was like, I don't really want to do that to anybody, but like I was like, I think you could do that.
You know what that reminds me of? Do you remember the anime club at Abbott?
Sure.
You remember sometimes some of the folks there, they would do this weird energy ball transfer thing.
Sure. They're laying on the floor together.
I don't necessarily remember that. It was more like they were doing these slow motion kamehamehas at each other.
Oh, yeah. I do remember that.
Acting technique. That's an improv technique.
Yeah, it was not an improv technique, though, in the way that they were doing it. It was like part of like a magical belief of energy and transference that was going on, or at least that's what they would say.
They were like pushing energy into each other.
Yeah, like.
Oh no, it would be cool if it was true. So fun to believe it's true.
And I think that was, in a sense, the way in which they were engaging with it. It would be fun if it was true, and then they acted in such a way as though it were. But I think some of them might have actually believed that was what was happening.
How do you know if this energy is good or bad? It's just energy.
I'm more concerned about it. Why would you think it's even there? But yeah.
Just take energy. Don't know if it'll help you or be bad for you. Just take it. Yeah.
Just take a piece of bread, put peanut butter on both sides,
Pure energy.
and then drop it off the counter. Okay? It will spin in place because it doesn't know which side is peanut butter side down, right? There you go. Perpetual energy machine.
Perfect.
Nice.
Thank you. Solved world energy crisis.
Yeah, what's up with those fucks at CERN? Why aren't they harnessing double-sided peanut butter energy?
I'll send him an email. Don't worry about it, okay? I got it.